And a happy Thursday to everybody as we come back for our 100 horror movies to watch poster. This week we will be talking about The Old Dark House. Although we won't be talking much about it. The Old Dark House is a 1932 comedy horror which was based off of the 1927 novel called Benighted. What's weird about this is there was also a remake that came out around 1963. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to it. This movie is set in interwar Wales. The film follows 5 travelers who seek shelter from a violent storm in the decaying countryside home of the eccentric Femme family. I think one of the things that set my bar a little too high for this is knowing that Boris Karloff played Morgan in this. I was expecting him to play kind of a bigger part. I guess maybe his part was important, but not substantial in the film. I don't think he got as much screen time as Boris Karloff should have gotten. This was a very small film. There was only 10 cast members. We have the 5 travelers that show up because of the storm, a group of 3, and then a second group of 2, and then 4 members of the Femme family. Their mute, dangerous, heavy drinker of a butler, Morgan. We start to see almost immediately that the Femme family is probably not quite right, as the interactions between their 5 guests and them are awkward and uncomfortable at the very least. There's another love story that's thrown in this, which I've talked about in a lot of these other reviews, where within only hours of meeting each other, 2 people are confessing their love and planning marriage with each other. It's seriously like 4 or 5 hours at the most that they had been talking or knew each other. And here's that happily ever after love story of marriage being crammed down our throats again, really without any development in it. And that kind of got to me right away because it's such an overdone trope in these movies. And it's one of the things that I've kind of been slightly ranting about in these older movies. This movie was directed by James Whale, who had a lot of other very successful movies around the time, but this was not one of them. This failed to match the commercial success or the contemporary critical success of any of his other movies. And it was withdrawn from circulation after Universal lost the rights to the novel because they didn't want to keep it. It wasn't a profitable film for them. In 1963, it was adapted into a remake by Columbia Pictures, and the original was deemed a lost film. It wasn't until one of Wales's friends, Curtis Harrington, succeeded in recovering most of the original film that they were able to restore it and then add it back into his filmography, where it started to get critical acclaim and recognized as a cult classic and one of the director's most significant works, which I don't understand. Again, and this is another rant that I've talked about in the past, I don't understand how something can go from being a total flop and not being received well to 30, 40, 50 years later, it being deemed the best of the collection or a cult classic or whatever. I wasn't a big fan of this film. The writing, the plot, the execution, it kind of just didn't land for me. Now, you guys might completely enjoy it, and my argument wouldn't be that I didn't like it, therefore you shouldn't like it. You are absolutely able to like whatever you enjoy. I know there's going to be movies I like that other people aren't going to enjoy, and that's totally fine as well. My issue is that something can be considered the most significant work of an artist or an actor or director's career at one point, but at another point it was a failure, it was a flop, it didn't make any money, it wasn't received well. Was it a movie that was before its time? Was it too heavily censored at one point? I don't know what the criteria for that is. I'm curious to see what the turnaround is on some of these like Netflix and HBO films that people are saying are terrible right off the bat. I wonder if that's going to turn around in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, where the stuff that everybody is trashing on now ends up being a huge cult classic later on down the line. I don't want to give away too much of the plot of this story in case you are interested in picking it up, but the gist of it is these 5 visitors inside the house start finding out some secrets about the family, and that maybe the family is not the best group of people to be around, all while trying to wait out this storm so that they can be on their way. So unfortunately, this is one that I will probably not be rewatching anytime soon. Out of 100 films that somebody else picked, I don't expect to like all of them. That would be crazy. Not to mention, we're still in a very early phase of movies at this point. This is still 1932. I kind of jumped ahead and looked at some of the movies that we will be getting to, and I'm really excited about them. Some of them I've already seen, some I haven't, and this is, again, a good reason to check them out. So I think that means there's only one thing left to do, and that's scratch it off the list. All right, so the scratching off of The Old Dark House. I'm kind of at a loss. I don't know what to guess this would be behind it. It looks like that is Morgan, Boris Karloff's character in here, who I don't think got as much screen time as Boris Karloff should have gotten, but probably just the right amount of time for what Morgan deserved. Yeah. And that is The Old Dark House. So that is the scratching off of The Old Dark House, which means next week we get to check out The Mummy, and that's one I'm really excited about. I don't know if I've seen that all the way through. I feel like I might have seen it all the way through, or maybe I saw like Abbott and Costello versus The Mummy, or The Mummy versus Frankenstein, or some crossover. I don't know if I've seen the original all by itself, so I'm excited for that one. And being that it's a movie monster, that might make its way onto the list of the Creepin' It Real series of stickers and pins and shirts and stuff like that. Which, speaking of which, if you're interested in picking up a shirt, the Spreadshirt link will be down at the bottom. You can also get this sticker off of that one, and I now have these in stock. Hopefully the pins I will have more information about by this weekend, and I'm really excited about that. So keep an eye out for merch if you guys are interested in picking anything up to show your support. It means the world. Thank you so much. And also a big giant thank you to all my Patreon supporters whose names are going to be popping up here in just a minute. Don't forget to hit the buttons down below, the likes and the subscribes, maybe share it with some friends, and comment. Let me know if you've seen The Old Dark House and if you agree with me or disagree with me. Until then, I will catch you next Thursday. Love you all. Later days.